Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today is going to be a brand new build called the Ballista, and this is a Nightblade PVP build, but with a little bit of a twist. I know you've seen the odd sniper here and there, but this is designed to be absolutely devastating from range, and yes, it is glass cannon as hell. So do not get close to your opponent. Have to get that one in there because some people are going to go, oh my god, my survival is terrible. Yes, it is. This is not designed to live, although you can. You can run away and evade, but you are not going to be standing toe-to-toe with someone and survive. This is a long-ranged build. One on their own, very strong. Multiples, devastating. Now, this is to take advantage of, obviously, the Midyear Mayhem, because it releases today, the new event, and it's to encourage some people to stay up on the castle walls and defend, because no one is getting in that door if you've got enough of these on side the keep. Now, we're going to go into the stats first of all, then we're going to go into the skills and start explaining how this all works. There is a very simple structure to this on how you should apply yourself, but basically speaking, you just need to bang as much damage into a single target as possible because it's going to make everyone else explode. Now, we're going to go into the stats. Magicka is 15k, max health is 25.1, and stamina is 29.9. We're on 1k mag recovery, 1.2k health recovery almost, and 1.4k stam recovery. That's with a potion run. We will need to keep that running all the time. Our weapon damage doesn't look that high at the moment, but don't worry, it will be, because when you start doing stuff like this, we get brutality and sorcery. That goes up to 4.1, and then obviously if we've got a glyph, it's 4.6. Overall, once everything is up and running, you will actually end up with about 5 to 6k weapon damage, depending on your group, if you've got buffs and bonuses being applied. Also, don't forget, you've got your ultimate, which will contribute to that. It does make a big difference when you start stacking stuff up, but it doesn't take a lot of effort to do that. It's all part of your burst, if you like. Now, we'll go into our other stats while we're here. So, we are sitting on... Where have we gone? Fairly lowish crit, but if you crit from stealth, obviously that's guaranteed anyway, so it's 100% if you are invisible. We have 20k pen across the board. That does go higher. Our weapon is sharpened. Our Mundustone is the Lover Stone, obviously, which is why it's so high. We do have very high pen. We actually hit about 24k before any buffs or debuffs are applied by anyone else. We do have our own debuff on top of that, which we will be applying, and that will put us at 30k pen versus the target you're hitting. That will make more sense in a moment once we get to skills. This, you obviously know what it does, but there's a resistance buff there too. There's your spell resistance and physical resistance. 21 and 17k. So not bad. Very high pen, bit squishy, but just stay out of people's way. And most range builds have a limited amount of range. This one has extra, but we'll get into that later. 64 points in stamina. Our takeaway broth is very good for the build because it gives you health and stamina and health and stam recovery. We need to have stam recovery to be able to break free, dodge roll, sprint, use our main spammable, all that good stuff. And we need the health recovery just basically to keep our health up. But if you want to use different foods, you can, because you may feel like your Magicka recovery is a little bit low. That is covered with champion points, but in a non-CP campaign, you might want to change a glyph or so to give you a little bit of extra recovery. But the choice is yours. Now we're going to go into the skills and briefly explain what each of these do. If you're in PvP, you probably know what they do anyway, but that doesn't mean you understand the build properly yet. The build will make more sense once I get to the gear, but first of all, let's go into these. Bear in mind, by the way, anything that has damage over time of it is not exactly the same because we are on the PTS at the moment. So anything that says 20 seconds is actually 10. So just bear that in mind. Inevitable detonation. First of all, this is in the assault skill line. Last ability to unlock starts off as Magicka detonation. Morph it deliberately to inevitable detonation. This one is completely different. Proxy det applies to you. After a few seconds, it goes boom, close to you. This does not. It's got 28 meter range, which will be higher, and it takes 1 second to channel up. Once you activate it, after 4 seconds, it will go bang and hit all surrounding enemies around the target that is attached to. Now, each player or enemy within the range of the explosion will increase the damage by 100%. So if you are on a keep fight, for example, there's a bunch of people down by the gate and you're trying to shoot them all and they're all close together, maybe they're on a battle ram or something, or if you are inside the castle, perhaps shooting down from above and everyone's on the flag, the more people in there, the more booms this makes. Basically, it's going to make a big explosion. So put this on one target, focus it down, and then it goes boom and everybody dies. This has a very special effect applied to it as well, by the way. So the trick to this is, if it goes off, it goes boom. But if it is removed early, so cleansed, whether it be purify, warden cleanse, purge, whatever, it will go off instantly. So that's also quite funny when it comes to people being attacked with Plague Break, because if that's on them already, and this is on them already, and they cleanse, they get both booms. We're not using Plague Breaker, but just saying. If anyone cleanses, this will go off much, much earlier than planned. So there is no counterplay for this apart from get the hell away from your mates and block. Otherwise, you're pretty much dead. So make sure this is on your main target at all times. Yes, you can apply it to more than one, but it's got a 1 second channel. By the time you've casted 2 of them, especially with the gap in between, I mean, the first one is going to go off anyway. So it's up to you. But basically, keep it on one target and just pressure it. Especially those that love hugging other players. This one is very important and does count heavily towards one of our sets. This is Cripple and Grasp. This is in the Nightblade skill lines. So you're looking for Siphoning. Third ability to unlock starts off as Cripple, morph it to Cripple and Grasp. This one has a 28-meter range. It does damage over time for 10 seconds, not 20 at the moment. This is on PTS, so that's slightly different during the testing cycles. It does damage initially, but at the same time, it does immobilize the target, so it will root someone. So you can put this on someone in the middle of the group, and while they're trying to panic and run away, you pin them. That gives you time to wait for this to go boom, rather than letting them get distance. They can't because you pinned them to the ground. Next is Shadowy Disguise. This is in the Shadow skill line. Second ability to unlock starts off as Shadowy Cloak, or Shadow Cloak even, morph it to Shadowy Disguise. This has been enhanced a bit over time. It's actually got 3 seconds now rather than some awkward seconds. It was like 2.8 or 2.7 a while back. It's a clean 3 seconds now. Don't spam it because you don't need to. Just before it runs out, or as it runs out, you can cast it again, obviously, to get really, really good uptime on invisibility. But if you spam it, you're just going to nuke your magical bar. This is your evasion. Use it, run away, or use it on the way in. Because if you use it on the way in, if you come out of invisibility with an attack, you're guaranteed to crit. That is quite nasty. And especially if you use it with our main skill on this bar, our spammable, which we'll come to in just a moment. Impale is here purely to pressure an enemy into dying. If they are very low health, 25% and under, you can use this from 28-meter range and execute them. You'll do 300% more damage the lower their health. You won't have a massive amount of magicka or recovery to be able to spam this too often, but you can use it as a finisher and pressure explosions and all manner of different things that do come into play with this particular build. Again, we're not at the gear yet. We will get there. This is from the Assassination skill line. First ability to unlock starts off as Assassin's Blade, morph it to Impale. The other one does cost stamina, but it doesn't have the range. This is deliberately there for you to pressure them into popping. Basically, you need that player to die in order for you to do all the rest of the damage. Next is Lethal Arrow. Yes, I know people are going to go focused aim, but if it's got a minor breach buff or debuff on it already, you don't need it. Yes, it's got longer range, but don't worry, this is going to have massive range anyway. Spam this as much as you like. Obviously, you want to make sure you pressure the target into low health so you can execute them. But prior to that, you want to put inevitable detonation on them alongside Cripple and Grasp and pin, kill. If you can manage that, by the time they're dead, this will obviously go off or beforehand. If they try to hide in their group, if you kill them, their group is going to die. Again, that will make sense in the gear. First ability to unlock in the bow skill line starts off as Snipe, morph it to Lethal Arrow. The reason we've picked this particular one is, again, because the other morph doesn't need to be used by us because we don't need the minor breach, because that could be applied by somebody else and you miss out on a positive bonus for you or negative for them from this version. This version does guarantee a poison status effect on impact, so that is extra damage. And it also applies Minor Defile, which reduces their healing received and health recovery by 8%. So while you hit them with this, you do high single target damage, you apply a single target damage over time, and you also reduce their healing. So, ticking time bomb, pinned to the ground, pressure, and hard to heal. All those combined make a mess. So keep these up and spam this. Yes, you will have to maintain your resources. Yes, you'll have to be clever about who you attack and when, but it's going to hurt. Dawnbreaker is here just for passives. If you activate it, you will do damage within 10-meter radius of the conal effect in front of you. But the main point of this is for the passives, but you can activate it at range. You won't hit anybody, but you will get 300 increased weapon and spell damage. So if you are in a moment where you want to get that extra boost for weapon and spell damage, you're miles away from the enemy, which you should be, you can activate it for that buff. So it's kind of a a boost to your damage if you like, but you can use it in an emergency close range. Vigor, obviously. Oh, by the way, this is in the Fighters Guild skill line. It's the level 10 you need for this to get the ultimate. Morph it to Flawless Dawnbreaker for the passives. Passives will come up in a moment. Resolve and Vigor from the Assault skill line. Quite simple. You need a heal. So, starts off as Vigor, morph it to Resolving Vigor. Yes, this is the selfish variant, but you're going to need it. Now, this is a little different on this particular server, so just bear in mind things may change, but the basic reason for having this is because over 5 seconds you will take heals every 1 second. So activate it, big heals, carry on. Venom Arrow doesn't have a 20-second duration. This is on PTS. The main point of this is to interrupt from long range. If you interrupt the target, then you will obviously stop them casting whatever it is they're casting. Again, 28-meter range. This starts off as Poison Arrow in the bow skill line, and it morphs into Venom Arrow. Yes, I know Poison Injection does more execute damage. This just has a 10-second damage over time. Remember, 10, not 20. This is on PTS. But this also gives you major brutality and sorcery, so you don't have to carry weapon or spell pots. So make sure this is on any target over a 20-second duration or 10-second duration on live, and you will actually maintain that buff and bonus. If they're off balance or interrupted or stunned, it's very important, something else will fire. That's coming up in the gear. Now, Propelling Shield. This is massive. This is really, really important. So this is in the support skill line. Starts off as Sea Shield, morph it to Propelling Shield. One of your members in your group needs to carry this. Doesn't have to be you, but one of you needs to do it. If you apply this, anyone inside of the shield itself, for 10 seconds, or 20 seconds even, will actually create a big, big sphere of protection, and siege weapons will damage your group less. But it also increases the range of your abilities greater than 20 meters if they're not a pull, a leap, or a charge ability. So anything that is over 20 meters that isn't one of those skills will get 7 meters. So as you can see here, this has 35 meters. But if I activate this, now it has 42. And also Crippling Grasp has 35 instead of 28. Inevitable Detonation has 35 instead of 28. You see where we're going with this. That makes a big, big difference in general. But there's more to that, and I'm going to explain it when we get to the passives. Next up is Shadowy Image. This is your escape button. Basically, you summon a ghost, shade, whatever, that will fight for you and has a 28-meter range. Also enhanced by Propelling Shield. And it does magic damage every 2 seconds. Every 1 second on the live server, actually. This is also slightly altered, but it does damage over time. It lasts for 22 seconds regardless. And you can use it to teleport back to. So if you want to use this as kind of a dummy just to do extra damage for you, that can't be attacked, so that's handy. But say, for example, you're in a position where you want to run away. Running is not enough alone. Invisibility might be, but doesn't always work in your favor. If you want to jump off a castle wall, basically you've got undo. So someone might follow you, and you can use it as a dummy. Run this way, go back to it. Or if you want to jump off a cliff, you can. And then hide and run away. Takes a little bit of practice to be that sneaky with it, but you've got options. Also, you can just plant it at one side, have a fight over here, someone gets too close, and you go back to where you were. They're not going to catch you straight away unless they've got a gap closed, and they're going to have to be bloody quick, especially if you recast this, they jump off the cliff, and you're back where you were. Utilize that as and when you like, but it's really tricky for people to catch you if you are aware of how that works. Just bear in mind, your first cast is the placement, the second one is a teleport to. If you want to teleport to it again, you have to recast the whole thing. That also, by the way, is in the Siphoning Shadow skill line, by the way. Last ability you unlock. Now, final ability is in Assassination. Mark target, called Reaper's Mark. 50-meter range. If you apply this to a target, it will put major breach on them, reducing their resistances. If you do kill the target, they will go boom. If they're dead, you get major berserk, and that boom is stronger because you've just increased all the damage you're doing by 10%. So put the mark on the target, make sure it gets dead, and then everything around it will take even more damage for the next 10 seconds, whether it's the initial pop or extra damage for the next target. Just make sure you don't forget it. And in the meantime, of course, on PTS, this has been upgraded slightly. It will heal you to full. On live, not so much. But it's very powerful nonetheless. And also, if you've got Propelling Shield on, as you can see here, It's not 50 meters anymore, it's 57. Really easy to apply without people noticing where you are. Finally, shooting star. This is quite simple. Mage's Guild level 10. Get this. If you want to use something that is really devastating in a crowd, fire this on top of somebody's head. They'll panic. You should block and then walk out of it, but most people don't. It will put damage over time on the ground, so people take additional pressure. The more targets you hit, the more ultimate you get back. It's just an absolute mental mess when you fire this into a group. Not to mention, of course, the 35 meters there is because of the propelling shield. It does apply longer range. If other people aren't using propelling shield, they won't have the same bonus as you, so you can reach them and they can't reach you. Now, we're going to go over the passives, but first of all, I'm going to take you to Cyrodiil, and I'm going to show you the difference in the skills once you're there. And we're going to go over those passives individually first when we get there. So, we are now in a keep. Doesn't matter whether you're inside the keep or outside on the wall. Doesn't matter where you are. There are bonuses. So, first of all, Battle Spirit. This is very important. Pay attention to all those abilities, obviously. Less damage shields, less damage, blah, 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 blah. All that kind of stuff happens while you're in Cyrodiil. But there's an extra one. Abilities with 28 meters range or more are increased by 8 meters. And if you go to your passives, in Assault, you get Reach, which means while you're near a keep, you will have this bonus on top of it. Another 5 meters. So you have 8 for being in Cyrodiil, 5 for being near a keep, and we also have 7 from Propelling Shield. Yes, that does mean that if you apply this and stay inside of it, your range is fucking mental. That gives us a 55 meter range on Lethal Arrow. No one's going to be able to reach you if they're too far away, but you can hit them. 43 meters on Impale. 48 meters on Cripple and Grasp. 48 meters on Inevitable Detonation. 48 on Venom Arrow. And of course, we have... Let's put this back on again. 70 meters on Reaper's Mark. Not to mention, of course, we have 48 meters on Shooting Star, and our sets reach also. They are set to the same maximum range, which will make more sense shortly, and they also have a 48 meter range inside a bubble on a keep. So if you are trying to prevent someone from coming in, you want those big defense ticks, get a few of these builds, stack them on the corner, and stay in that propelling shield. Nothing is going to live because the amount of pressure you can put on a single target, especially if you coordinate, will cause the group to explode. It's devastating. Now, we're going to go back to the house, of course, because we've got other things to go over, but that is very important to note. You have to watch your Magicka, obviously, because that is expensive, but if you can set yourselves up in a group or even solo while trying to help a big fight, you are going to be dangerous. Huge range. You can hit them, they can't hit you. Now, let's go back to the house. Now, we're going to go over the remaining passives, obviously, because they are important. This will give you increased penetration while you are behind a target. So if you're flanking them or from the side, from the back, you will increase your penetration values, which will enhance the 20k-ish that we already have, plus the breach, plus minor breach if that's present. You can do a lot of damage. When an enemy dies within 2 seconds of being damaged by you, you restore Magicka and stamina, so that's important. Increases your weapon and spell crit ratings for each assassination ability slotted. We have one on the front bar, one on the back. So that's a benefit there. Increases your critical damage by 10%. Sure, people might pack in pen, but if you invisibility first, hit second, you're guaranteed a crit. That will benefit you. And of course, dealing critical damage grants you and the group minus savagery, increasing all their crit ratings. So that's handy as a buff for the group. This increases your health, magic, and stamina recovery. We are going to need that. When you cast a shadow ability, you get major resolve. That's actually really helpful. It increases the more heavy armor pieces you have, which we have none, but it will give you a benefit nonetheless. So if you do go invisible and then you get exposed, then of course you've got that resistance bonus to tank up a little bit on the first hits you receive. This increases your max health. We've got one on each bar, by the way, for each shadow ability slotted. So the more you have, the higher the health, but we've got one on each bar, so it's the same both sides. And this increases the duration of your non-invisibility based shadow abilities. Again, we've got one on the back bar, which is your pet. One on the front bar doesn't get increased because it's non-invisibility sets, skills only. Siphoning, of course. After drinking a potion, you get 20 ultimate. Spam Ice Comet or Shooting Star all day long, basically. Increases your Magicka by 8% for having a Siphon ability slotted. We have one on the front and none on the back, so stay on the front as much as you can. Increases your healing done for having one slotted. We have one on the front, not one on the back. And of course, casting a Siphon ability while in combat generates ultimate and can happen once every 4 seconds. So if you are actively pinning people with this skill, you will generate ultimate. Bow is quite simple. Get every single one of these. Longer range means more damage from your bow. Increases crit chance just for having one. Reduces the cost of that ability just for having this passive, because we're using one bow skill, which is your main one. Dealing damage with a light or heavy attack increases your bow abilities to escalate in strength. So keep up light attack, hit, light attack, hit, light attack, hit, or heavy attack, hit, heavy attack, hit. It's up to you. But each time you do that within 5 seconds of the last one, you'll gain an additional stack up to 5 times. So you can increase your damage output by 25% on your bow skills. That's lights, heavies, and snipe included. And this gives you major expedition if you dodge roll while holding a bow. So if you dodge, you run faster. Quite simple. Do this and sprint. Done. Now, light armor passives are very important because we are using 6 pieces. So we want that for the extra penetration, the reduction to cost, the increased magicka recovery, because we are utilizing skills that do cost high magicka, but we're not spamming them. So instead of running really, really low and taking forever to get them back again, we can actively use them a bit more, but the penetration is essential. So 6 light, 1 medium, but you can go 7 light if you want more pen. Just bear in mind that your stam bonuses are going to be slightly different. Because if you have medium armor for each one worn, you do get crit damage, you get stam recovery, you get reduction to cost of your stam abilities, which is quite nice for snipe. You can sneak better, you can dodge roll cheaper. If you don't want the one-piece bonus, you can change that to light if you want, and you will hit a little bit harder. But you are going to have to be paying attention to your evasion, because you're not going to have as much. You're going to be quick on your feet, but your dodge rolls are going to be more expensive. You could argue 4% isn't much of a difference. It is. Moving on. Fighters Guild, you are going to need these. This is irrelevant. You don't need that because we're not using any active skills. We're just using the ultimate. But you do want this because it increases your weapon and spell damage for having Dawnbreaker on the bar. And if you kill an enemy while on this bar, you will get ultimate. So you do want to get these 2 passives here. This one you can get if you're going up against players and hitting them with Dawnbreaker. But if you're never using it, then there's no point. Mage's Guild, you will need to take advantage of this here, which increases the duration of your ultimate if you're using it. And of course, you've got a maximum magicka and recovery bonus for having it slotted on that bar if you want. You do also have Empower if you activate an ability, but to be fair, once you fire that, you're probably going to run off or they're going to die anyway. So these 2 here are quite important. That one, not so much. Undaunted, yes, you need these. Get both of these. This will give you resources back for taking a synergy. Take all the synergies. They're all beneficial. And this will increase your maximum health and stamina and magicka by 2% per type of armor worn. We don't have to wear the medium if we don't want to, but you will lack 2% of resources if you swap out. But it's all swings and roundabouts. It's up to you. Whichever you're more comfortable with. If you want to be a full glass cannon, which the build is kind of designed around anyway, go all light. But if you want minor stamina bonuses or minor medium bonuses, go with the 1-piece medium on the monster set, and then you can take advantage of this passive as well. Support and assault, you will need both of these. Just get them all. This will increase your weapon and spell damage and your weapon and magicka and stamina recovery. If you capture a farm, a mill, a mine, whatever, if you capture any resources, you'll gain these bonuses for a limited period of time, 10 minutes, and you also have major gallop at all times, so your mount speed is increased. This will increase your range. We went over this earlier. In a keep or an outpost situation, massive range on top of what we've already got, and this will generate ultimate every time you kill a player. You'll get a lot of that. Support, obviously, again, if you have one of these abilities on your bar, you will gain extra recovery. So if you do find that you're suffering with your recovery, maybe you don't use execute a lot, you could put reveal and flare on your bar, not to cast, but just to leave there for major protection, and then you'll get a recovery bonus from this. Or if you wanted barrier on as well, you could get an extra bonus for recovery. The choice is yours, but if you're not using any of these, you'll only benefit from it on the back bar. Increases your healing done by 20% when you're near a keep, and reduces the time it takes for you to resurrect another player when you're in a PvP area. These are all very important. We are an orc. You don't have to be, but we are. Maximum stamina, maximum health. Every time you do damage with a weapon ability or any other ability whatsoever, you will heal once every 4 seconds. So that's handy. While we're at range, we can keep our health up. And also increases your weapon and spell damage, plus we're bloody fast. So quick, heal off of damage, stamina and health. Happy days. If you want to use any other race, you can, but just bear in mind the pluses and negatives towards the build if you do so. It's not the end of the world if you're not an orc, but orc is solid for this. You're quick and you can survive. You don't want to get hit. You do want to stay out of trouble. This is designed to stay at range. If you get toe-to-toe with people all the time, you're playing the build wrong. Medicinal use, this is insane. If you have this, your potions last longer. We are going to be using tripods because we've got the major brutality and sorcery on our venom arrow, so we don't need that in potions. We don't necessarily need a movable because we shouldn't be getting hit because we are staying way back. So we can take advantage of tripods, which will give us all 3 resources back, maintaining your bars and giving you 30% recovery for all 3 bars at the same time. Keep this up 100% of the time, you'll always have those bonuses. Now the gear. The important part. So this is going to start making sense with the skills that have been chosen, if you understand how they work, but don't worry, I'm going to explain anyway. So, Hrothgar's bow on both bars, because we don't want this to fall off. Back one is defending, just in case you want a little bit of defense. Front one is sharpened with a weapon and spell damage increase glyph. So that's really important. While you're piling on the pressure, you've got the extra damage output. It gives you health and armor, so a little bit tankier, and offensive penetration for both magic and stam, or whichever way you want to call it now. Stunning or immobilizing an enemy causes them to burst with frost magic, applying a chilled status effect. So crit damage would go higher on those targets if you were holding ice staff when you did this, but we're not. So what they get instead is minor maim, so they will be doing less damage. But it will explode, dealing 13% of their total resistances in frost damage in area of effect to them and surrounding players. Also, this can happen once every 7 seconds and cannot be blocked. So all you have to do is apply this. Cripple and Grasp immobilizes. Apply that to someone, they'll be immobilized. This will go bang in area of effect. You apply that to a tank with really high resistances, that hits hard. You stack that alongside of your inevitable detonation, you've got 2 booms going off very similar times. So you could hit them with that while they're about to run, pin them. 1 boom goes off, 2nd boom goes off. This is on the bows and also on the jewelry. Bloodthirsty twice and infused. It's very important to maintain that. Every 7 seconds you can immobilize someone and it's really fucking annoying. But we have an extra boom coming out of it because not only can you hit them with this and make them panic, then immobilize them with this and make them break free, but by the time the first hit of this has gone off, then this has been applied, this will then fire. They'll break free and then be stunned. They're 2 different cooldowns for CC. Immobilization and stun are different. So you put the bomb on them, they panic. You immobilize them, they explode. They break free, they're instantly stunned to the ground again. They have to break free again. By the time they've done that, inevitable detonation has exploded. So 2 bombs have gone off while they're stuck in the middle of their group, unless people scatter. In the meantime, you pepper them with this, pressuring them while they're on the floor to go down to low health and execute them. If you manage that, everything will go boom, and this will kick in. Vicious Death, of course, is very, very friggin' popular, but you are forcing the enemy to stand completely still while you hit them. And the closer they stay to their group, or the stiller they stay, the more damage and area of effect you're going to cause everybody else. Magicka, weapon and spell damage, crit chance, offensive penetration. When a player gets killed, they violently explode. And yes, the more players you kill, the more of this goes off. It's a 5-meter radius, scales off of your weapon and spell damage. So pin the target, pile on the pressure, make them blow up. If they blow up, everyone else blows up. If everyone else blows up, they blow up everyone else around them as well. It's a triggered effect that goes bang, 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 like a domino effect. So Vicious Death, Hrothgar, and Celestrix. That can be really, really nasty. And just to show you how quickly Celestrix fires, you can light attack. You can do this from range. Bomb is on. Celestrix is going to fire. They're stunned. They get up. Pin them. Hroth goes off. Bang. Simple as that. If you need to get away, hide. Or if you need to evade a little bit and then get back to where you were, you can obviously use your pet. It's really simple, and that will go off all the time. That explosion stuns people in area of effect from Celestrix. This does damage in area of effect, obviously, to everyone. And this will pin the target, so aim for a tank. Now, that set won't show the damage or the explosion on a dummy because they can't be CC'd. But on a player, it's absolutely mental. All you have to do is immobilize them. And bear in mind, it's quite easy to immobilize as a Nightblade anyway. Even with this long-range interrupt, that can knock them off balance and stun them. That will also trigger Hrothgar as well. even if you didn't fire that. Constant pressure. If someone's chasing you, immobilize them, they'll go bang. If they're chasing you again, immobilize them, they'll go bang, and you can just keep doing that while getting away from people. The main trick to this build is to stagger those abilities and don't get in close range. If you're on your own, you're going to be nasty. If you're in a group of these, absolutely mad. But use this and use the keep bonuses. You can do this from top of the keep. You can do it from a mill or a mine or whatever. You can do it from where you want, but make sure you take advantage of those range bonuses, because if you outrange them, they can't get to you and they're guaranteed to die on the way in. Okay, now it's time for champion points. So, very simple. We are deliberately a glass cannon. Get all the white slottables, passives even, that you can get, especially these ones, because they give you penetration bonuses and status effects and all that good stuff. Make sure you get all the ones that are white or yellowish. Then, get this to increase the weapon and spell damage of your abilities. Very important. Slot that. Get Deadly Aim to increase your direct damage. Get Master at Arms to increase your direct damage as well. Now, these are slightly different. So, that's not direct. It's a single target. So, this one is for the main target that you're hitting. So, all the single target abilities you use, light attacks, snipe, all that kind of stuff, cripple and grasp, they all get boosted. But this is direct. So, a burst in an area of effect also is considered with this. So, your proximity detonation or inevitable detonation, all that kind of stuff, they all count to this. So, stack these two to put pressure on the main target and make it go bang. This will contribute to all that stuff, and then you want this afterwards. Once you do kill that enemy, they are going to explode. Vicious Death will go off. It will hit surrounding enemies. They will die. Their Vicious Death will go off. And any that don't die will still receive this from the ones that do. Get Occult Overload, pressure that target, make it pop, everyone's going to die. It's Oblivion damage as well, so no, you can't block it. So if Vicious Death doesn't kill them, that will. Next. This is quite simple. Get all the white slottables as soon as you can. They are quite beneficial regardless. But max health, max armor, recovery. Then one more. You want to get this from in here. Wind Chaser. While you're sprinting, you gain 100 recovery for health and magicka per stage. Up to 500. So if you're trying to evade or you're going from one stage to another, remember we don't have high magicka recovery, about 1k. Sprint. This will stack on top of your recovery bonuses and give you a massive, massive bonus overall. So you can maintain your bar just by sprinting from one place to another. And the green stuff. These are meh. Get them in your own time. Use which ones you like. They're all quality of life, except for this. This reduces the movement speed penalty for sneak, so you're a bit faster. This will make your food last longer. This will give you a chance to not use your potions. This will make you run faster between fights, and this will reduce the cost of sneak per stage. Those I would recommend you slot, but it really doesn't matter which green ones you put in. Now, if you're in a non-champion point campaign or battlegrounds, ignore everything I just said. It doesn't matter. You don't need champion points. Just make sure you heavy attack occasionally. Now, fashion. So we are using the Ancient Daedric hat, the light one. We are using I can never say this. Shield of Senchel Shield Jack. Sacy Arm Cops. So I can say the awkwardly spelt one. Waking Flame Gloves. Yokiden Belt. Thieves Guild Heavy Legs, by the way. They look like combat pants. Ascendant Order Shoes. And we've got a Welkanar bow on the front because it looks very nice with a wing on it. And we've got a Worm Cult bow on the back just to split it up so you can tell which one is which. Honestly, the Troll King bow, if you can get it, looks friggin' amazing, but choice is yours. Now, dyes, we are actually using two different dyes here. We are using the Motif Master Brown for the kind of browny, goldy, bronzy color, and we're using Legate's Black, but you can, of course, use Star Wars Black if you prefer. And that's about it. Remember to keep range. Remember to apply your inevitable detonation to make them panic. Remember to pressure them with Lethal Arrow, and remember to pin them with Cripple and Grasp. If you do that, the amount of pressure that applies to them all in that short space of time, especially when Select Strix stuns them to the ground after they're immobilized or before, they're not going to be able to react quick enough. They'll blow up their mates. Again, on your own, this is great as long as you can maintain distance. Use this. Stay by the keep. But as a group of you, if you coordinate with a few of these, it's going to be very, very hard for anyone to survive on their own or in a group. You can apply pressure on your own. Sometimes people might be able to ping off some of the damage, and you might have to try a bit harder. But as a group, it's nuts. So thank you very much for watching. I hugely appreciate support. If you are not subscribing already, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website xynodegaming.com, Instagram, and loads of other stuff. You can just Google my name or just click the tabs. There's loads of stuff. Thank you for watching and have fun in Midyear Mayhem. Bye-bye.